Hello friends, and welcome to lesson 1 of this 5-part beginner blues guitar crash course. In this session, we're going to be covering some basic music theory, your 1-4-5 chords, and also your 12-bar blues, the progression that's at the core of the blues genre. Now be sure to practice each of these techniques with slow, careful repetition and follow along using your corresponding ebook. Let's get started. Okay, close look at the fretboard and also my pick in hand. Getting started with section 1, learning all about the 1-4-5 progression. This is a must-know technique for every beginner guitarist because it's one of the most used chord sequences in popular music and is at the core of thousands of well-known songs, including Sweet Home Chicago by Robert Johnson, Red House by Jimi Hendrix, and also Johnny B. Goode by Chuck Berry. Now, the numbers 1-4-5 originate from the major scale. Okay, there it is on one string. So that's a sequence of whole steps and half steps. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And it basically reveals all the notes that work together in the key of A major. Now, if I play that scale, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and I extract out the first, fourth, and fifth notes of that scale, I end up with the three notes, A, D, and E. Those notes can be converted into chords and be used to play thousands and thousands of well-known songs. Okay, very good everybody. Now that we've taken that major scale, picked out the first, fourth, and fifth notes, A, D, and E, we're ready to convert those notes into three chords that can be used to play thousands of different songs. A major, D major, and E major. Okay, getting started learning our first chord, A major. Okay, we have our diagram up here on the screen. We have lines going side to side representing our frets. We have lines going vertical representing our 6 strings. E, A, D, G, B, and E from left to right. Okay, now the numbers are representing your fingers. Finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, and finger 4. The A major chord, the middle finger is going to lead the way. We have 2nd fret of the D string. Then your ring finger goes beneath that 2nd fret of the G string, and your pinky goes beneath that 2nd fret of the B string. Your fingers stacked nice and tight. Wrist forward so that way you can clear the high E string open. Strumming from the A string down. A major. Now, if you want to get a chord down nice and fast, just put the chord together. It might take some adjustment. Take it away, wiggle the fingers, and get yourself back into that position, and then repeat. Okay, over and over again, slow, careful repetitions until it's committed to muscle memory. We're going to do this with each of the 3 chords that we master over the course of this session. Okay, moving on to our next chord here, it's going to be D major. Okay, so this is the 4 chord in the key of A. Remember, everything's in reference to that major scale. A, B, C sharp, D. Since it's the 4th note in the scale, it's the 4 chord in the key. Okay, so for this one, the index finger leads the way. 2nd fret of the G string going right up against the fret. I'm going to skip a string and go to the high E string 2nd fret with my middle finger. I call this my peace sign position. Alright, then I'm going to go in between with the ring finger. 3rd fret of the B string, arching that ring finger up. Okay, making that arch so I can clear the high E string and let it ring out nice and clear. That might take a lot of practice. I strum from the D string down, making sure I'm getting a little bit of extra pressure from my thumb behind the neck, and maybe even pressing my chest into the guitar just a bit for some extra pressure. D major. Okay, now finally moving on to the final chord that we need to learn to be able to play thousands of different songs, the 5 chord. Okay, so what is the 5 chord in the key of A? A, B, C sharp, D, E. So I need to convert this into a major chord. E major. Okay, a very, very useful chord. I've got my index finger on the 1st fret of the G string, and then my middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the A string, okay? And then my ring finger goes underneath of that to the 2nd fret of the D string. an E major chord. Now, one of the ways I remembered this chord when I was first starting out is that it's very similar to the A major chord, or at least there's a path between those two chords. I just simply think about taking the top fingers of my A chord, jumping them up one string, and then dropping my index finger down to the third string. 1, 2, 3. That G string, first fret, for an E major chord. Okay, very good everybody. Now we have 3 chords that we can use to play thousands of songs. A major, D major, and also E major. Okay, very good everybody. Thus far we've touched on a little bit of music theory, and we've also learned our 1, 4, 5 progression, the A major, D major, and E major. Now we're going to be using those chords throughout this entire lesson series. Now here in section 3 for the absolute beginners, I'm going to talk to you about how to achieve faster, smoother chord changes. So mastering a given technique on the guitar is always a gradual process, and it requires slow, careful repetitions. Always remember that. Now here are 3 tips for developing smoother chord transitions. The first one, I recommend that you begin practicing each chord separately, making sure that your fingertips are pressing firmly and are as close to the wired frets as possible. Okay. Now, once your fingers are in their proper positions, you might want to lift them on and off, just kind of pump the hand so the fingers are raising off the fretboard and then coming back down onto the fingertips. All right, once that's comfortable, then I recommend that you start practicing lifting on and off the individual fingers. Okay, for example, the middle finger, on and off. This is a great way to build finger dexterity or independence, and it's also a great way to teach each finger where it belongs inside the chord. I'll repeat that for each of these 3 chords. The D chord, lifting the middle finger, lifting the ring finger, the whole chord shape on and off. Okay, toughening up my fingertips as I press. And then also the E major chord. Okay? All right, so once you feel like you have these chords down individually, then it's time to start practicing chord transitions. So just mix it up. The A chord going to the D chord. The D chord going to the E chord. Vice versa, the E chord going back to the D chord. Just mix them up randomly. But one tip that I have for you is to always consider a target finger. I like to think of whatever finger is going to be uppermost. So on the A major chord, my middle finger leads the way because it's on top. Same thing for the D chord now. I'm going to take my index finger, let that lead the way, it's on top. All right, and then when I'm going to the E major chord, I'll take that middle finger and let that lead the way again. Okay, so a target finger, just that way if you get one into place, then the other ones can follow. All right, then tip number 3, consider mnemonic devices. For example, the A chord looks like a stack of pancakes. The D chord, we have that peace sign to the triangle. Okay, and then the E chord is simply taking the A major chord, jump in the middle and the ring up, so jump them up and drop it down like we mentioned before. Okay, so those are 3 tips for being able to come up with some faster, smoother chord transitions, but no matter what you do, even if you have the fanciest tricks, it's going to take time and patience. Okay, very well done everybody. Now we're jumping into our 4th and final section for lesson number 1. Now that you've mastered your 1, 4, 5, the A major, D major, and E major, it's time to put those chords to work and learn a common 12-bar blues. This is the most used chord progression in all of blues music. So we're going to be practicing this progression with basic quarter note strums. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're always going to be tapping our foot and counting whenever we practice. Okay, so in 4/4 time, that means that we're going to be counting 4 beats per measure. Our 12-bar blues is going to consist of, in its most basic form, the A major chord for 4 measures. Then we're going to go to the D major chord for 2 measures, okay, or 8 beats. Back to the A major chord for 2 measures, again, 8 beats. And then we're moving to the 5 chord, E major, for 2 measures. And then finishing up with the A major chord for 2 measures. Okay, so a quick review. A major for 4 measures. D major for 2. Back to A for 2. E major for 2. And back to A major to finish up for 2 measures. Let's see if we can put all that together. Playing through our 12-bar blues in the key of A. A 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, D chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and A. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, E major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and A. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and right there, that's the chord progression to thousands and thousands of different tunes. Okay, very good everybody. Now that you've mastered your 1, 4, 5 changes and your 12-bar blues, you're ready to move on to section 2 and start adding to your repertoire.